Hey guys, it's Mason here.
And I'm here too. And I'm Forrest.
Welcome to Hydroland.
Get that nice shaky Josh Fox camera work. Hydropower is the process by which electricity is generated using the kinetic force of a river. In traditional hydropower, a dam is built, giving the operators greater control over the water's flow and power.
In its most basic form, hydropower has been around for centuries, with some facilities existing for over 100 years, such as this one, the Vernon Dam, which just turned 110 years old.
Behind me is the Vernon Dam. It sits on the Connecticut River, bordering Vernon, Vermont and Hinsdale, New Hampshire. For generations, it's been providing electricity for Vernon, Brattleboro, and surrounding areas. To find out more about the Vernon Dam, we met with Matthew Cole, the community relations representative for the Great River Hydro. So I had to call Matthew Cole to let him know we were running late, and I wasn't sure if it was the right number, but he really helped me out because he just answered with, "Matthew Cole speaking!"
Matthew Cole! I can't wait to meet this guy.
My name is Matthew Cole. I work for Great River Hydro. I'm the community relations representative for the company. We have assets from the Connecticut Lakes here to Vernon and also on the Deerfield River. The history of the Vernon Dam is it was originally built in 1909. It was the first generating station on the Connecticut River. The original station was about 300 feet long and contained 8 units. They each had 2.5 megawatts of energy. Locally, we have one customer. We market our product to the independent system operator for New England, and they're the ones that take and distribute the power that we generate. We have at Vernon Dam, to protect the environment, we have an operating license from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to operate the facility. And within that operating license is minimum and maximum elevations, amounts of water that we can use to generate electricity, amounts of electricity that we can use, but also safeguards on the environment. One of the special features here at Vernon is the fish ladder that provides passage upstream for anadromous fish. So we're working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and the state Fish and Wildlife agencies on a number of different anadromous species and trying to move them up and downstream as best we can with this impediment we have here in the river since 1909.
Do you think that the Vernon Dam is working to its fullest potential in terms of efficiency and environmental impact? If not, how exactly do you think it could be improved?
I think it's operating in the best possible situation it could. It's providing energy for our region. It's also takes into account environmental and other concerns, wildlife and things of that sort. It's being run as efficiently as possible at this point.
Unseen to the public, there's a lengthy legal process behind both the construction and maintenance of these dams. They may be licensed for 30 to 50 years, but they're still required to meet a number of standards and guidelines to stay in operation.
Curious about the legal and logistic workings going on behind a hydropower facility? We interviewed Kathy Urfer, the Connecticut River Steward for the Vermont-New Hampshire region.
Wait, so where are we meeting Kathy again?
So I emailed her, and she wanted to meet at Amy's Bakery.
Wait, how the f*** are we gonna do an interview at Amy's Bakery?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Figure it out over some chai and pastries.
Rococo.
So the way the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission works in terms of licensing a hydropower facility is that it gets a license that lasts somewhere between 30 and 50 years. That's one piece of the regulation of a hydroelectric dam. So for instance, there are dam safety inspections that occur annually or every 5 years. You know, there's other pieces of regulation that affect the hydro facilities in other ways. FERC is a federal agency. There are commissioners at FERC that are, nominated by the president, and then the Senate confirms them. So depending on who those people are and what their background might have been in, you could very well have people who worked in a coal industry or an oil industry becoming FERC commissioners under one administration, and then under a different administration have FERC commissioners be, people who developed solar or something. On the very highest level, I think there's some influence there in terms of how the commissioners rule on all of the regulations that fall under FERC.
Peaking is a term used in the energy business to describe the fluctuating price of energy throughout the day as demand changes. In the summer, energy may be more expensive during work hours when companies are air conditioning buildings. In the winter, energy demand may peak in the nights when families are heating their homes. A peaking hydro facility is a dam that will open channels during the peak energy hours to meet demand and close them during calmer hours. This pattern disrupts the flow of rivers.
What's happening now with, the development of solar and wind, solar and wind only make electricity when the sun is shining or when the wind is blowing. So what's been happening is that people have been more and more pairing battery storage with a solar project. So the sun shines, makes electricity, it fills up the batteries, and then those batteries can be discharged later to create electricity. It's all very dramatic, what I'm talking about. So one of the things we've been thinking about was if you were to add batteries possibly to a peaking hydro facility, could you then take the peaking out of the hydro facility?
We've heard a lot about energy and the environment, but what about the people? Throughout history, people have always settled near rivers to have easy access to water. So when a hydropower plant is put in place, it's not just put in the middle of nowhere, it's put in people's homes.
In the case of the Vernon Dam, its presence historically has had a particular impact on the native Abenaki people. Many of these people, Abenaki and otherwise, are still feeling these impacts today. Rich Holshoe, a prominent leader in the local Abenaki community, sat down with us to provide a valuable viewpoint on this discussion.
My name is Rich Holshoe, and I am a resident of Brattleboro, or in the original language, Wantastagok. I serve on the Vermont Commission for Native American Affairs, and I represent the contemporary Abenaki community as a spokesperson and liaison for public relations and permitting procedures, such as relicensing of hydropower dams. So from a native perspective, the site of the dam is related to its position on the landscape and on the river. This is the case at the Great Bend in Vernon. There was a rapids there called the Vernon Falls, which was a traditional fishing site, subsistence site. Because of that, there would have been regular settlement and other cultural activities going on in the area. So the controversiality in the area of the industrial development is because of its impact on the landscape and its cultural heritage. I try to take a big picture view of things. I also tend to think of everything as being connected and time as a continuum. So the accumulated impacts all matter and still matter. For example, when the dam was built, over 150 farms or parts of farms were flooded. The impoundment covers 2,500 acres. There is a lot of farmland, prime farmland, bottomland, that went underwater and remains underwater. It's out of circulation. fisheries have been heavily affected. This is an area that affects the native community significantly. A lot of those people still fish for subsistence. They tend to be on the lower income levels of society, and they depend on fishing to literally feed their families. The fish behind any dam are basically being poisoned slowly, and the people who eat them are being poisoned. That's why there's restrictions on what you can eat. And so yes, that's affecting people nowadays, and I know some of those people.
What's been done for those people, if anything?
Nothing. We have a dam, again, and we can't, it's something that's in place and we're not about to tear it out. In a perfect world, the dams would all go away. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have hydropower. There are other forms of hydropower that have different efficiencies. You can have run of the river. You don't have to have an impoundment. You can still use the power of the water to generate electricity and get some benefit from it, but not on the scale that it is. And that again is, I think, symptomatic of how much is being taken away from the public welfare and going into private pockets. So this is why I'm involved with the relicensing of the Vernon Dam. We have chosen to primarily address cultural concerns because they are, I guess you would call the low-hanging fruit. The easiest thing for us to address and get standing, all of which I would like to address, but I have to kind of focus on a few things. It's a volunteer effort. This is not paid. One can't undo what has already been done. What my concerns are and what I would ask for is that the concerns of the native community, which have been ignored completely and are actually rather unknown. People are ignorant about them up to this point, be taken into consideration as much as possible going forward, and that can be in many different respects, but it's more of a restoration process. That's the way I look at it.
Coal, oil, and other fossil fuels are objectively non-renewable resources. In the near future, there will be an energy crisis. We will have to turn to greener, more renewable forms of energy. So how does hydropower fit into that equation?
Hydropower plays a big role in renewable energy because it's always being recycled, reused, very efficient.
Given that fossil fuels are probably a limited option in the future, I think we're probably going to increasingly lean on hydropower in our mix. That is because we're not going to give up our energy habit. It kind of goes back to the big picture, as I was saying before. In the short run, I think hydropower will remain important and may increase in our mix if that's possible. People are going to keep looking for other places to develop. I will make the point that hydropower projects don't get built in places where there are people of influence. They get built where there's people who have no say. In marginalized communities in third world countries. That's what happened here in 1909. The local people had no say. The businessmen had all the say, and the legislatures. And this has not stopped on a worldwide level. We may not see it in our backyard. We take it for granted, but it continues. And so those impacts are very, very real, and those people don't have a voice because they don't have any money.
If hydropower is going to continue to be a viable resource of energy in the future, then changes have to be made to it.
I think the most important alternative is efficiency and the reduction of our own arrogance in terms of what our privileged position and what we expect to be able to do. Solar and wind, I think, are less destructive than a lot of the other choices that we've made. On a certain level, I would say hydro might come after that.
Life is the force that binds us. Energy is the power that pushes us forwards. Without energy, life would suck. And if life sucked, so would you. So that's why we're out here today, doing the people's work. It's a thankless task, something that not everyone's up for, but we are. We do it not for the money, but for the power. Because if I've learned one thing in my years here as a planetarian, I've learned one thing. Thanks for watching.